Burning Tree Emissary. Make the mana. Second Burning Tree Emissary. More mana. Charming Scoundrel. We can create a treasure. No swings. Alright, well, not too shabby for turn 2 there. Hello my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the latest in budget deck technology. Now before we get started, I do want to say right now, thank you so much for those of you who are still watching my content, even though we haven't actually done a full in-depth deck tech in a couple of weeks already. So yeah, I know there's things that have happened, but of course I wanted to also heal myself up and feel a lot better about my health overall before I can jump back into these. So again, one more time, thank you so much for hanging in there everybody, but we are back and we are ready to do some more exciting deck techs. Now thanks to the Wilds of Eldraine, we definitely have a lot more to cover. So without further ado, we're going to jump into what I consider one of the most Chad of archetypes out there. This is simply put a mono red deck that I'm just calling Be Aggressive. But before we get started, let's already go over the stats of the deck like we always do before we completely dive into it. So we're looking at a primarily mono red deck. It does have a tiny bit of green, but of course the average mana curve is about 2.1. We're rocking 21 creatures and 17 non-creature spells. To be specific, however, that'll be 10 instants, 3 artifacts, 8 enchantments, and 22 lands. Now you may be wondering to yourself, Infernoman, if mono red aggro deck at this time of year and this time in the format located directly in this deck tech?
Yes. That's it.
For those of you who are a little unsure how mono red aggro works, i.e. basically the more beginner players out there, simply put, mono red aggro is a very linear style of gameplay where you're trying to play everything on curve, you're trying to overwhelm your opponent as fast as possible before they have a way to stabilize. That's basically the whole game plan for you. So how do we get to that victory, you're saying? Well, simply put, let's go ahead and go over some of the main cards in the deck. We're going to talk about cards such as we have Kumamo Faces Kakazan, creates that 1 damage, puts a pump on one of our creatures if we cast it the next turn, and flips into itself into a creature that's a 2/2 with haste. We have Monastery Swiftspear, of course. This has haste and prowess, pumps itself up whenever we cast a non-creature spell. We have a couple of those with Play with Fire. We have Volcanic Sprite itself, and the Kumamo, of course, gives our Swiftspear the pump. In the 2-drop slot, we're going to talk about Kari Zev, Skyship Raider. First strike in minutes, it's a 1/3, it's great, it's awesome. It does create a Ragavan token, not to be confused with the Ragavan card, of course, but it definitely will help create a little bit more of a aggressive game plan versus our opponent. Burning Tree Emissary, really awesome, of course. Comes down, it creates some mana for us, so technically it kind of plays itself for free. In the 3-drop slot is where things get more fun. We have copies of UC Apparel Goblins, which also will pump up the Monastery Swiftspear. However, one of the cool things about this card is you could either use it to create some tokens, say, of course, if you get hit by a Wrath, or you can use the +2 ability to pump up your entire team and then finish off your opponents. Otherwise, our other 3-drop card is going to be Annex Hardened in the Forge. We're going to talk about this card real quick because it's actually really essential to the game plan. Annex Hardened in the Forge here is a 3-mana legendary enchantment creature, Demigod, where its power is equal to the devotion to red. Whenever Annex or another non-creature token you control dies, you create a 1/1 red satyr creature token where this creature can't block. If the creature had power 4 or greater, you create 2 of those tokens instead. So in other words, basically this can replace itself if it dies. If any of our other creatures get blown up, we can create a bunch of satyr tokens, which ensures that we can keep being aggressive with our game plan. Our other main finisher, of course, is the Embercleave. You've seen this card used a couple times in other deck techs that I've talked about, where it has flash and it gets cheaper for every creature that is attacking when we cast this card. But what again was the newest cards we added? So one of the other cards, which is unassuming at first, but it's really awesome actually, is Harried Spearguard. This simple little common is a 1-mana 1/1 with haste that reads, when the Spearguard dies, you create a 1/1 black rat creature token that says this creature can't block. I know, that doesn't really seem like anything super crazy, but one of the biggest weaknesses, of course, to mono red aggro is we are very weak to spot removal and wrath. So with that, this card, of course, not only creates a way to then do some aggressive damage in the early game, but also if it does get blown up, we can also have that rat token come in and ensures that we can still keep being aggressive with our game plan. But the other real cool card, the star of the show, is Charming Scoundrel. This card is a human rogue with 1/1 and haste that reads, when Charming Scoundrel enters the battlefield, you choose one. You either discard a card then draw a card, a loot ability, or you create a treasure token, or you can create a Wicked Roll token attached to the target creature you control. Let's go briefly talk about what is that token. The Wicked token, as you can see right here, is a token enchantment aura roll that reads that the enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and when the aura is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. It doesn't seem like, again, as much as where many of of the other cards on our deck do a lot of effective damage. But the main reason why we want this card, and I think this is the key piece that can help ensure that we have great momentum with mono red aggro, is you have the option of choosing what you need to when you cast the card. So you can either give this a +1/+1 pump, which makes it a hasty 2/2, which is not too shabby. It's nothing crazy, but it definitely helps. We can also either loot, which can also throw away one of the other, say, I don't know, extra lands that we have, and then we can hopefully draw into some more action. Or we can try to ramp ourselves with that treasure token, which can then allow us to either cast maybe another burn spell. Maybe we can then cast that play with fire. We can cast maybe another Harried Spear card. If it's in the mid to late game, we can also use that, of course, for any of our other cards. I honestly can't talk that much enough about this card. It's actually a card that I think really is essential to making this deck much more effective for us. Now, even on a budget, we still have a pretty solid mana base. We only have to do 16 mountains, but we also have the Ramanop Ruins if we need to in the late game to finish off our opponent with some burn. We have a Den of the Bugbear to help us go wide in case of our board does get Wrath. We also have a Castle Embereth as another way of possibly adding some extra pump if, say, we don't get that UC a pair of goblins and we just need somewhere to dump all that extra mana. For the sideboard, I'm honestly going to recommend personally that mono red aggro should stay as a best of 1 deck, but if you are interested in taking this into the best of 3 format, we're going to have copies of Chandra's Defeat, we have copies of Lithomanic Barrage, we have Burning Hands. The only other problem we have is dealing with Shieldred, which we don't have a color for, but instead we do have Bloody Betrayal, which we can utilize to then pull a Shieldred off and give it to us, which we can then take advantage of the blood token to maybe give us a little bit of stabilization if we need to loot. Otherwise, your other options will be, if we do need a little bit more burn, we also have Lightning Strike. I know some people may argue that technically you might want to put Volcanic Spite in instead of the Lightning Strikes and swap them out, but that's honestly going to be up to your personal preference. We have Searing Blood, of course, which can also do a little bit more extra creature damage and extra burn if we need to in a pinch. And finally, the only other biggest bane of existence when it comes to mono red aggro decks is life gain. So in order to avoid dealing with life gain decks, we of course will then put in Tibalt Rakish Instigator on the top end here, which turns off life gain and also creates some devil tokens for us. So is mono red aggro now finally poised to actually pull off victories in Arena now? Well, only one way to find out. So of course we're definitely going to take this deck into the format and show you how well it performs. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content so you don't miss out on any of the gameplay, booster pack openings, deck decks, and so much more. Alright, my fighter friends, here we go. We are playing our mono red aggro deck here in Explorer, and ooh, okay, so this is definitely a sweet looking hand here. So we definitely got a solid 1-drop here. We can go right into 2 Burning Tree Emissaries and a Charming Scoundrel. Land of War Elves, that's fine. And an Embercleave. Oh, okay. So, I think I know our game plan here. Kumamo. Pings. Okay, so game plan right now is obviously Burning Tree Emissary into the second one. We make Charming Scoundrel, and we can make a extra... What is that? Wow, I've lost some words here. We have mana, basically. That's basically what I'm trying to say, everybody. Okay, so with that, Burning Tree Emissary. Make the mana. Second Burning Tree Emissary. More mana. Charming Scoundrel. We can create a treasure. No swings. Alright, well, not too shabby for turn 2 there.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Wow, we can actually get out a turn 3 Embercleave. This is actually pretty solid for us. Okay, so with that... Alright, so we've got everything in position now, everybody. So with that, Monastery Swift Spear. Go swinging here. Wow, we actually pulled off this very early here. This is actually pretty solid. So with that, Embercleave time. We then, where do we put it on here? Okay. Oh, okay. That's exactly what you want the deck to do, everybody. Wow, actually, I didn't think our opponent was going to give up right there. But okay, that's basically it, everybody. That's the deck. That's what you want to do. Okay, my fighter friends, here we go. We are playing our aggressive mono red aggro deck here in Explorer. And, well, this is not ideal, but it is doable. If they have creatures and... Well, actually, let me see what they have. They're playing a Jengatha, so I'm guessing they probably should have at least some creatures. So let's keep this. We can use our burn spells to hit our opponent while we get Kari Zev out and Annex. Volburn Epicure. Alright, well, is it the Convoke deck? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. So with that, ooh, we got Kumamo. This is actually pretty sweet for us. Let's play this instead. Kumamo coming down. We pings. This allows us then to play Kari Rev, which gives us a decent blocker in the early game here versus, oh boy, it's Lethal Demolition. Venerated Loxodon. Good lord. Our opponent's more explosive than we are right now. Okay. Well, I still believe in us, everybody. So with that, Kari Zev coming down. She does have first strike. That's actually pretty good for us. So that does block our opponent for a little bit here. Opponent's about to explode here. Oh, good lord. Okay. Knight Errant of Eos. Yikes. Wow, our opponent literally have the dream hand here, everybody. Of course they do. Of course they do. Okay, I'm not mad, everybody. So we get our card. Mountain out. This is really awkward. We're going to have to kind of pass here. Depending on what our opponent does, this is what determines how we're going to handle this. Okay, so they make their creatures. Graven Inspector. Do they swing, though? That's the biggest question here. Knight Errant of Eos again. Oh, goodness. Wow. Wow. Why don't I ever get draws like that? Okay. I'm totally not jealous at all. Not jealous at all. Nope, nope, nope. Okay. Opponent goes swinging. Yep, they do. Block with Kari Zev. Play with fire. They lose their creature. They take a little. We take some damage here. How do we get around this, though? This is actually really scary for us. Okay. I don't honestly like doing this, but we're going to have to do it. Take out the frog. Take out the Epicure. Some way, somehow, we're going to have to fight our way through this, everybody. Okay, so with this. Mountain. Charming Scoundrel. We create a treasure token. Use the treasure token, casting Annex. Well, it's not too shabby of a turn, but we're still not exactly where we want to be at. This, again, they're going way wider than we are. And we don't really have a way of stopping this. Oh, jeez. So with that, this feels really awkward to do, but we're going to have to do it this way. Down to 11. We create some satyrs. We have another Annex. Okay, well, that's fine, I guess, for now. Okay, so with that, do we swing here? That's our biggest question here. Do we just take the risk and just take the L? I don't know what we should be doing here. This is actually really bad, everybody. No attacks. We're just going to hold off. Maybe if we get our Ember Cleave, we might be able to survive. Forbidden Friendship. Well, our opponent's out of cards just like us, so I don't know how we're going to pull this off, but I think we can still do this. Make a Spirit. We block again with Annex. Down to 10. Going wide still. Not ideal what we want here, but it's fine. Do we swing, though? I don't think we should. We're going to hold off still. Wow, this is like the slowest aggro fight we've ever had. Opponent's also stumbling on mana, too, which kind of helps us out a little bit here. Make another food token. They're swinging with their flyers, which is really annoying for us, because we don't honestly have a way of dealing with flyers in the main deck. Burning Tree Emissary. Okay, well, I guess something. We make some mana. Sacrifice the Ramanov Ruins. Not really effective here, but I guess I'll better than nothing, I suppose. Wow, we're actually going to get got by like some little spirit creature tokens. This is so awkward right now. Goodness. Another land for our opponents. Forbidden Friendship. Big swing here. Okay, so we're most likely not going to survive this here. Yep.
Stop! He's already dead.
Down to -4. Well, this is unfortunate, everybody. I know that wasn't really an impressive feat on our end, but Boros Convoke just still really good in this format. All right, my fire friends, here we go. We are playing in the Explorer format, our aggressive mono red deck, and okay, well, this is still awkwardly off curve for us. I don't like this at all, but I think we're gonna have to keep it, only just because we can still get some annexes out, and we can still make some tokens off of it. Okay, breeding pool. Okay, well, we got some UC Apparel Goblins. That can help out later on. Alright, opponent, what do you got? Alright, Yamivaya Coast. Silver Guild App. Oh, okay. So it looks like we're playing against Merfolk. That's cute. Play with fire. Take out that Merfolk. the mountain. And we're going to have to pass here. Super awkward because, again, we don't have any plays right now, which is really weird for us. But that's okay, everybody. Okay. Well, this is actually a lot better now. Okay, so with that, Castle Embereth. Burning Tree Emissary. Oh, I realize now that Merfolk Trickster might actually mess with us here. Okay. Annex Harden in the Forge. Did they bring it down now? They do. Okay. They tap the Annex, which is fine. That's not a problem for us. Forest. No attack from our opponents. Alright, so with that, play a Mountain. Go swinging with just the Annex and see what happens. Down to 15. Do we do it here? Do we take that chance? I think we might have to take the chance here. Annex number 2 coming down. Keep the new one. We make a bunch of tokens. Oh, Tawara. Oh. Okay. Well, we still get tokens off of that, so yay? I think I'll take that just the same. Thanks, opponent. Alright. I don't know if our opponent knew that was probably the best solution against us, but I, again, will definitely take that. So with that, we can actually swing here now. Boulder and Hexcatcher. Ooh, second Boulder and Hexcatcher. Okay, so with that, we can then play with fire. Take out one of them. They still will block here, no doubt. We play Yupsi, a pair of goblins. Pump up all of our creatures. And there we go, everybody. Down to 2. All right. Wow, okay. We're doing really good against Merfolk here. I know they haven't really been going wide here, but we kept them in check, which is awesome against us. Ramanop Ruins. Should we do it, everybody? Let's actually just swing here. I just want to see, do they have any other tricks? No, they don't, of course, because we're going to win this one. All right. Well, again, not a super crazy showing of mono red aggro, but definitely you get the idea of how the deck works. Be aggressive, put out your stuff, don't be afraid to swing until you absolutely have to, and you get your wins. And there you have it, everybody. So that was our mono red aggro deck for you. So you tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Are you a fan of this deck? Would you play this deck in any way, shape, or form? Well, I'm going to be very honest with you. The deck didn't exactly perform ideally as well as I thought it would. Truth be told, the deck kind of did have a lot of awkward moments with our draws. You kind of saw from some of the gameplay footage, yes, we did kind of do a misplay on one of our matches, which was really stupid on my end, so feel free again to yell at me in the comments for that one. But otherwise, the deck is definitely capable still. I do like mono red aggro, but a lot of other decks right now have definitely stepped themselves up. A lot of tribal decks out there have gotten better. A lot more creatures have higher toughness. So this does unfortunately put mono red aggro in a much more awkward spot now, because a lot more decks like, say, that Boros Convoke deck we fought against, 2023 decks are not playing as fairly as they used to back in my days. So not to sound like an old man about this, but honestly, the deck still is capable of doing what it needs to. But as you see, we're definitely, again, a one-trick pony. However, if you do like this one-trick pony, and maybe you like to make this trick a lot more stronger, here's what I'm going to recommend for you to make mono red aggro even more better than what we currently have. Now, as far as the upgrades to the deck, we're actually going to be looking at trying to play a lot more tighter here, and we're going to be a lot more creature focused than the original build. So with this one, we're going to take out those Swift Spears, and instead we're going to be adding in Fanatical Firebrand. Technically, this card doesn't do as much damage as, say, the Swift Spear, but because we're definitely a lot more creature focused, Monastery Swift Spear doesn't gain as much of an advantage, so we're definitely going to have to cut those. Obviously, keep the Spear Guards. We're going to definitely keep those Scoundrels because I think they really do help us overall. As far as other additional upgrades, we're going to be adding in Goblin Chain Whirler, so it kind of gives us a pseudo mini Wrath here, and also is a great card which just has First Strike. It has 3 permanent red markings on it, which can give us a lot more for Annex, of course. We're going to be adding in an entire set of Bone Crusher Giant. The card just is a powerhouse, and it does allow double duty by being able to then hit our opponent as a burn spell, and also creates a solid creature that we can use in our game plan. Since we do have, as you saw in our original game, a lot more issues with a lot of the more tougher creatures out there, we're going to be throwing in Torbrand, Thrain of Red Fell, in order to ensure that we have a lot more damage to push through to force our opponent to get out of the way their creatures. We're obviously going to add in another copy of Embercleave to round out the package. As far as the upgrades to the land base, added another copy of Castle Embereth, an entire set of Den of the Bugbearer. Now what we're going to need, keep the Ramanop Ruins, keep the mountains. This does mean that your mana base does get a little bit more bigger, but again, we are utilizing a lot more higher mana value creatures, so we're definitely going to need that extra mana for that. As far as your sideboard upgrades, this is actually where things get a little bit more interesting. If you do want to play this in best of 3, Tormod's Crypts are going to be what you want for graveyard hate. They're free, and that's why we want them, because we really want to play more tightly. We'll have another copy of Goblin Chain Whirler in the sideboard. Against those life gain decks, we'll now upgrade to Rampaging Ferocidon, getting rid of Tybalts. We have a copy of Squee Dubious Monarch to help us go wide and ensure that we can still get more creature tokens out there. For removal, you'll now move that over to Obliterating Bolt. This mostly will be your catch-all against pretty much everything, so you don't have to worry about anything more color-specific. Chandra, Dress to Kill, and Chandra, Torch of Defiance. These cards will help us out a lot more with the control packages out there to ensure that we can still do a little bit of extra damage and just keep drawing through our deck. We're going to have some copies with Kari Zeb's Expertise. These are mostly just going to be to get rid of those Phyrexian Obliterators, to get rid of those high-toughness creatures, Shieldreds out of the way. We could then use them for ourselves. At the mana value of 2 or less, being able to cast a spell for free, we do have a couple options for that, so that allows us to maintain momentum. We will then also round out the package with a Hazoret the Fervent. Since this actually has Indestructible and Haste, and we tend to dump our hand very quickly, this is a solid finisher for us, which we can also use to discard cards to, again, ensure that we have a backup plan of just burning out our opponent. My only other final thoughts I just want to say on the deck is Mono Red Aggro is basically what it is. You're going to have those moments where it's going to be super duper fun and you'll clean out opponents very quickly, but depending on what set drops, sometimes that meta can switch in an instant. Thankfully, however, to the Wilds of Eldraine, we definitely have a lot more awesome options for us that allows the deck to have the legs it needs to get through sometimes even the most annoying of mid-range and control decks out there. But even if you're struggling, like sometimes we've seen today, don't feel discouraged. I definitely still have a lot of fun playing aggro decks out there, and I will obviously never give up on trying to make them a thing. However, don't worry, we have tons more of the Wilds of Eldraine to show off. We have a lot more deck techs out there for you coming up. And before you know it, we're going to get to the Lost Caverns of Ixalan in, wow, only like 2 months? Oh, good lord. But before I even talk about that, let's just say right now, again, if you are a fan of mono red like I am, if you are a fan of aggro decks in general, if you just like seeing how fast you can get your wins, by all means, give this deck a try. And I assure you, when you can pull off a turn 4 win consistently with this, and even if you just get the miracle draw and win by turn 3, you will definitely love it and not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!